Alright guys, welcome to our final video of the day. Of course, I'll be making it to Live Saga tomorrow. I'm unable to do the 3 videos, but it is what it is. So, of course, there was an a heated exchange between SIFUNA and Chergey during the Senate committees. Remember, they have been moving around the country from one place to another to make sure that they see to it that matters of accountability, auditing, and whatever come to pass. And so it is what it is, okay? So we are seeing finally a lot of heated exchange as the discussions continue. Of course, that is not the bone of contention a lot, but County Public Accounts Committee has been seeing a lot of challenges in the county governments. So let's check on this, then we'll proceed to the fact that, of course, SIFUNA has been threatened of being pushed out of ODM finally. This is something that has been repetitively coming out, and we will be looking at it in due course. So let's look at this.
Yeah, and Governor, I hope you see the danger that, governments exist in perpetuity. If you have an agreement with the government of Kenya, it's not the same as having an agreement with William Ruto. Because there will come a day when you will not be there, and you might get a cantankerous fella who maybe sees things different.
And that day might be very soon, actually.
Extremely. For the cantankerous fella. Let me finish. You know, Chair, I was walking. Let me finish.
I don't know what.
Can I finish?
Chair, I don't know.
Can I finish? No, I think SIFUNA is cutting both ways. I think it's okay.
Chair.
Let's accept which and proceed.
Chair, to be fair, I don't know what his obsession of SIFUNA with
William Ruto. I have not.
Can he make his submission?
No. SIFUNA has cut both ways.
It is the government who has invoked the next one.
SIFUNA. He has said the next one might be cantankerous. So let's just put it at that.
You can see the
where
you can see the tolerance.
If
you don't want me to express myself, you are shouting.
But it is you that does not want SIFUNA to express himself. Let him finish his point.
Okay, order. Senator SIFUNA, proceed. Senator SIFUNA, I think you are the one who's obsessed with me, because every time I raise issues here, you are always shouting me down. You must stop rousing and arousing each other.
Why would I be obsessed?
Senator SIFUNA.
It is better I'm obsessed with the president.
Senator SIFUNA, Chair, if you look at the contract document, I have read it. Some cantankerous people have not read it. At page 3 of that contract, it specifically says under clause 6 that following a commitment by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, it is in your document. So it is okay for us to discuss these matters. And Chair, I was walking on eggshells because I didn't want him to start making noise here. Because yesterday we discussed something called separation anxiety. There are people who are very anxious because they are going home. But the point that I was making, Governor, is that you are safer. You are safer having an agreement with the government of Kenya.
But it goes home daily unless you live on the street.
Order, Senator Chiraki. At this rate, we will not have a bit. Order, Senator Chiraki. You will get your opportunity to say
your powers. Please don't allow.
Okay, proceed.
If you want to turn this political platform, we are ready.
I will determine how the meeting progresses. Senator SIFUNA, proceed. Once you've given me the mic, please. Let me conclude, and then you can give the mic to Senator Cherargei, because this shouting over each other presents a very bad picture to our guests here. Senator Cherargei, you can say whatever it is you want to say after I finish. There's no problem. What I am saying is, Governor, for the people of Nyandarua, it is safer for you to have an agreement with the national government. It is actually a legal and constitutional requirement, because next time, when it is somebody else, you cannot tie them to this sort of agreement. Because I believe the interest of the people of Nyandarua is for this hospital to be concluded. So please, you cannot tell us that you will ignore a constitutional provision. Let us have a formal agreement with the government of Kenya so that the team that comes in next in September of 2027 can still continue doing this work for you. I think what we are asking for is an intergovernmental agreement. Does it exist? Does it exist? On this, whatever has been captured in clause 6, the commitment by His Excellency the President.
All right, so that was a moment at when these people are actually in Nyandarua. So there was a heated argument between Cherargei and Sifuna because Sifuna was insinuating that the incoming leadership might be cantankerous and therefore will not stand any provisions of what this county has done in transacting their businesses. Anyway, it is what it is, but the two of them, of course, keep arguing left and right, while other people say that they are just playing a game. Others say it is a real war. Who knows? Maybe we'll be waiting to see. But anyway, let's come here and just see how this was happening. Sifuna turned up for explainer interview, and we want to see what exactly he shared that has stirred emotions with Kaluma saying he should be walking out of ODM, and also the president saying that Sifuna should know that he is part of the genesis of ODM. Therefore, if he only understands that they are original survivors, or rather the people who started the club, or rather the movement, then he should be ready to understand that. So let's check on this explainer, which Sifuna had recently, and just listen quickly to what provisions were done. Of course, I'm putting in the background, then I'll come to show as a video as I deal with something else.
At coalition, and to just congratulate the coalition because it has been a bit chill on that side, to congratulate the new office holders and wish them the very best, and they can count on the support of ODM party for as long as we remain members of the Azimio coalition.
So it's still vibrant in your view?
As I've said, things have been a bit...
the person who's now the party leader.
Things have been a bit quiet on that front, but that's what I'm saying. For us, we know that we are still members, and I want to thank them for at least allowing us as members of ODM time to mourn our departed leader. That many of the things we've seen in our own party, they did not do the same after the death of Raila Odinga, that they gave us time to be able to mourn our party leader. Yvonne, a lot of things have happened. You know, you asked when the last time I was here. Was in July, actually 22nd of July last year. And people have asked, oh, why have I taken all this time? And I want to explain to you. Even you asked me, why now? There is a reason. You know, after the explain of 22nd July, certain things happened. The first one was the party called a central committee meeting to discuss SIFUNA, and I'm sure after this one, they will call another one. But good things come out of those meetings, even when they go to discuss SIFUNA. 14 days after we spoke, and because we spoke about the implementation of the MOU, which we signed with UDA, 14 days later, on the 6th of August, there was a communication from the President and Raila Odinga of the setting up of a committee, which they called a committee to oversee the implementation of the 10-point agenda and the NADCO report. And after that Central Committee meeting, of course, the meeting happened in the presence of all the leaders. This committee was announced. And the communication, which I have a copy here of, is signed by Raila Odinga and the President himself, gave a deadline of March 7th, 2026 for this committee to submit its final report. And I remember agreeing with my boss, the late Raila Odinga, that I will give this committee a chance. Because when I was on this show, I declared that MOU dead for very good reasons, if you remember. And he said, Sifuna, look, many of these people in this committee that we've put together, including the chairperson, Agnes Zani, who's actually my deputy and somebody who I respect because she's my predecessor. Many of them are members of ODM, Fatuma Ibrahim, Gabriel Oguda. Those are people that I know and I've worked with. And Raila told me, Sifuna, give these people 6 months. It's been 6 months. And I'm here to say, I am here to sound the alarm that they have 30 days to give us a final report on the MOU, because that MOU is not extendable. The expiry date was 7th March 2026. So I'm hoping that tonight, wherever Baba is, he knows that I have kept his promise to give these people a chance to work. And we agreed on 6 months. Today, those 6 months are over. We have only 1 month to go, and I want to understand how this committee is going to deliver all those 10 points that we agreed before that deadline.
With a month to go, what is your assessment of the
They have done nothing. They have done absolutely zero, and we will go with you one by one.
Okay.
I want to start with that MOU because there are some issues which came up even in your bulletin. The MOU is here because I brought copies that have been signed. And I want to show your viewers so that they don't say SIFUNA comes here with his own things. First of all, this MOU, we need to educate the public. There's a lot of ignorance out there. This MOU bears 2 signatures. I don't know if they can zoom in on my copy.
Yeah.
Do you see SIFUNA's signature here? There are only 2 signatures, Yvonne, if you can read from where you are. Who are these people who signed this MOU? It's the President, William Ruto, and Raila Odinga. Those are the people who signed this document. We wrote it. They signed it. Now, if you have to extend this MOU, you have to talk to Raila. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, we start with point number 1. We say the first issue that we agreed upon, because these are the issues that were important to Raila Odinga, the full implementation of the NADCO report. So, what was the NADCO report? And you have to go back to that NADCO conversation, and I'll give you just quick highlights. The first one was an audit of the 2022 elections. You have just asked me here about the question of this CEO exiting. Majan has a lot of questions to answer, not just to members of ODM and the opposition or supporters of Raila Odinga, but to the country about what happened in 2022. So this is what we agreed in NADCO, a comprehensive evaluation of the 2022 electoral process to enhance transparency and public trust. That has not happened. And I challenge that Agnes Zani-led committee to show us where an audit of 2022 has happened. The next one, government expenditure cuts. All government arms should reduce travel budgets by 50%. Just the other day, you saw in the newspapers a report. Kindiki, the deputy president, 340 million shillings expenditure or budget for his travel, private jets and choppers. Number 3, devolution support. Calls for the national governments to finalize the transfer of all devolved functions to county governments. I want them to demonstrate to us how that has been done. Finally, there was a question of the political parties regulation, where Baba through NADCO had agreed with UDA to establish an independent political parties regulatory commission to oversee registration and funding of political parties. Even this question of funding of political parties, I can state authoritatively here that the money and the resources you see being spent in those ODM rallies, the so-called underground, those monies are not coming from ODM headquarters.
Where are they coming from?
You will ask them. Because for me, this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. I can only account for monies that, because I'm a signatory to the bank accounts, forget this rubbish you hear people saying here. Timothy Bosire, the treasurer, is a signatory to the bank accounts. The last money we expended as ODM, officially, was for the celebrations in Mombasa. And it was a fraction of what we saw there. So I am telling you, I know for a fact, there is parallel funding for activities clothed in ODM colors. And they go around running around saying they are ODM delegates. So this is the problem that we have.
Just one moment.
Yes.
So we can go step by step. So what you're saying is the Linda Ground...
those rallies are not financed from party headquarters or party coffers. That
including what we have seen in terms of gaining, public support or sentiment for the pre-election coalition pact, which we will talk about.
I am telling you,
the party
all those activities that you have seen, including those ones that you are referring to, there is no money that I executed a check for from party coffers or headquarters. In fact, we didn't have any money. The third quarter of the financial year, the remittance came, I think, 2 weeks ago, about 100 million shillings, and it is a drop in the ocean to what, when compared to what exactly ODM is supposed to receive. As we speak, Yvonne, ODM is owed a total of 12 billion shillings by Treasury. Yet we are being told that my former chairperson is a cabinet secretary for Treasury. So if you go just by that issue alone on the implementation of National Dialogue Committee report, the score there is 0. And I challenge anybody to come up with a better score if they have done the things that Baba agreed to do. Number 2 was inclusivity in all spheres of public life. This is what they parrot around, saying, oh, they have employed somebody from Western, they have employed somebody from Coast, they have employed somebody. Baba, when we were discussing these issues, it was not about positions and which tribe gets what. We have turned into the Rigathi Gachagwas of today. We are the ones speaking the language of shares. We are the ones saying the cow should be divided into two halves and 50-50. I mean, we, for all the condemnation that they extend to Rigathi Gachagua, they are the ones speaking the language of shares now because they have tested government power.
Is this not inclusivity in public?
This is what I'm saying. Inclusivity. If you look,
appointments, not
just
level.
Look at the text. Kenya belongs to all persons regardless of their ethnicity, religion, generation, or geographic location. This is the thinking that went into this. You understand? So it is not just about getting 2 lawyers employed. No. It is not just about even religious and even geographical discrimination. These are things that you have to look at.
And you think that's not been done?
Well, you can say the inclusion of a few people who would never have got an opportunity in any government is positive, but that one will give them 20% out of 100. Protecting and strengthening devolution. Yeah. Baba wanted specifically in this financial year that we are concluding 450 billion shillings to go to counties. They gave us 415, not 450. Now, when you look at what is happening with the counties themselves, as a senator, I can tell you, we have been, there was a time when the regime was making a lot of noise saying they're up to date with remittances. Counties are struggling, Yvonne, because they go up to 2-3 months without disbursement of their shares, equitable share. And then they tell us they are supporting devolution. This one, on NADCO, in terms of, transfer of all devolved functions, have all functions been devolved? We still have national government entities, especially in the water sector, running devolved functions. This has not been done. And I challenge anybody, tell me that this has been done. Let's go until number 10. So did we get 450 billion?
Yes, so
we should not get... we did not get 450 billion. So if we agreed on 450 and you give me 415, you cannot say you have done it.
So you give a score on
of zero. Of zero, let them come and tell us their score.
All right, economic...
Promoting and protecting the livelihoods of young people. Just today in your bulletin, Yvonne, and this is tied up with this other issue of stopping extrajudicial killings. We have police officers being accused in Kahawa West of torturing and killing 2 young people, stuffing maize in their bodies and torturing them to death and beating them with blunt objects. Have killings stopped? I have counted upwards of 20 people, young people, killed by this regime after signing this document. And we can go through that list from the gentleman in Kitale to Albert Ojwang. All of those things happened after signing of this MOU. So we can pontificate about this so-called Nyota program, which, by the way, is an abuse of public resources. Abuse of public resources. Because how can you turn the distribution of these resources funded by the World Bank, by the way, which we have to all pay back, and turn them into UDA rallies? How can you do that? And nobody is saying anything about it. So, this one, number 4, let them give us their score, I will give them 0. Leadership and integrity.
And the end of opulence.
Let me not even start. Let me not even start. This is the problem that got us into the 2024 quagmire in the first place. I've given you the example of Kindiki and his private jets. Should we still be seeing such opulence in government? We are being told that State House runs through its budget of mandazi and soda way before the financial year closes. So let them explain to us.
All right. On the right to peaceful assembly, compensation of all
this one, you know the answer. You know the answer. First of all, ODM is a public funded organization that was built on the back of peaceful assembly and protests. No ODM leader should be heard saying we can limit or fetter the right to Article 37 in any way. Because ODM is maandamano.
All right. On that, let me ask you this, because we've seen the CS for Treasury speaking. I believe it was just yesterday that he has seen the economic impact of protests in the country, that for 1 month of protests, it takes about 3 months to recover.
Yes.
And I guess he says that based on what he's saying is his new position and his new information that is available.
Yeah, what he forgets that there is a reason, a cause for those maandamano. What was the reason for why the young people went to the streets in 2024? They didn't just wake up and go. It is the intransigence and the refusal to listen by people who are in elective positions that drives people to exercise these rights. You know, even for us, as ODM...
Other party leaders have also said, maandamano hamtarudi tena.
This is the point, because those are not our only choices. Opposition is not synonymous with maandamano. There are other ways to hold the government account, and nobody is saying if you leave the broad-based government, you go to the streets. Who has told you that? Nobody has said any of that. You have to have a reason, an excuse for you to be on the streets. When we went to the streets in 2023 with Baba, and by the way, many of these people who are speaking here, I never saw them in the streets with Raila. But these days, they are the experts on how maandamano is a bad thing or a good thing. They were not there, and everybody knows this. Now, there were reasons, including cost of living. The cost of living was so high that we had to go to the streets putting sufurias on our heads to demonstrate that we need food for our people. You know, when we were talking about audit of the 2022 elections, that is a reason, a valid reason for you to be able to go on the streets. And we didn't start on the streets, Yvonne. I remember we did a rally at Jivanji here. And we set out all these conditions and we say, please, we are giving government opportunity to address these issues. We even suggested how some of those issues could be addressed. When they are ignored, this public action, which includes the rights under Article 37. Since this document was signed with UDA committing to respect the right under Article 37, how many peaceful protests have you seen being broken up violently and brutally? Many, they are countless, including now we are at a situation where they even tear gas churches, people who rode on the church to gain access.
All right, guys. So that is the explain. SIFUNA actually addressed a lot of matters that have brought a lot of discussions, and some individuals indicating that he should be walking out of ODM and leaving to the original beginners, or rather the conceptualization group that came up with this. So guys, I want us to just come up with another analysis that has gone up. There's a moment here that was shared that I want to come up with here and share with you. Where is this?
By ODM, and question number 2 is who the next ODM Secretary General will be after SIFUNA is ultimately ejected. And so with no further ado, let's get after it. Question 1. Can SIFUNA survive in Nairobi without ODM? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. And there's several factors which make me say so. Let's start with A. SIFUNA is not contesting against Sakaja. So even if Sakaja is given the ticket from the broad-based group to go for the gubernatorial seat, and SIFUNA is going for the senatorial seat, there is no scenario whereby one will be taking votes from the other. The Luyas who are in broad-based will vote for Sifuna. The Luyas who are in one term will vote for Sifuna. It is only Sakaja who mambo yake ni 50-50. He is neither here nor there. We don't know what's happening with him. So the fact that there is no major challenger for the senatorial seat from Mulembe Nation who can come and try to dilute Sifuna's numbers as far as Mulembe is concerned, that is a green flag for him. Factor B is the fact that Sifuna enjoys the support of Kalonzo Musyoka. With the support of Kalonzo and Wiper Party, all the Kambas in Nairobi will be behind Edwin Sifuna. That is a big plus for him. Which brings me to factor C, and that is the fact that if Gachagua so chooses, because, he is yet to make the decision, this is not a guarantee, but if he so chooses to support Edwin Sifuna, he will find himself with the support of the Luya base, the Kamba base, and the entire Mlima Kenya base. That in and of itself is enough to get Edwin Sifuna re-elected unanimously. In fact, he's Rigiji extending an olive branch to Edwin Sifuna.
Sasa tumesikia William Ruto amesema akinunua ODM hataki Sifuna, atamfukuza. Edwin Sifuna, I want to tell you, my brother, you are a good leader. Ukifukuzwa na William Ruto, you are welcome to DCP. Sifuna akuje asikuje. Sifuna is a great senator in Nairobi. And I have no problem with the DCP supporting Sifuna to be the senator of Nairobi.
We expended as ODM officially was for the celebrations in Mombasa, and it was a fraction of what we saw there. So I am telling you, I know for a fact there is parallel funding for activities.
With Yvonne Okwara, in fact, here he is on his way to the interview. Now in this video, I want to walk you through some of the highlights from the legend himself. And so with no further ado, let's get after it. Number one, we've seen Oburu Odinga and Okech Sala running around telling ODM members to Linda ground. It's actually a slogan, Linda ground, that they coined. But guess what? Even their movement is being funded by their sugar daddy, William Ruto. Just listening to this expose from Edwin Sifuna.
The money and the resources you see being spent in those ODM rallies, the so-called Linda ground, those monies are not coming from ODM headquarters.
Where are they coming from?
You will ask them. Because for me, this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. I can only account for monies that because I'm a signatory to the bank.
Siku Raila alikufa. The day Raila died, Junet used to be with Raila throughout. He never went to collect his body.
Actually, Junet was supposed to go. Yeah? We reached the airport, he said he was feeling unwell.
The story begins not with accusation, but with a flight. A delegation was traveling to India to pick the body of Raila Odinga. In Kenyan politics, this is not routine travel. It is symbolic, it is intimate, it is a moment reserved for those closest to power. And that is why Edwin Sifuna's words landed so heavily.
I remember getting on that flight and I looked around. I couldn't see enough of Raila's friends. I was very angry. I was just wondering, who are these people going to fetch Mzee? I was very angry at Nyayo Stadium that even when he was Prime Minister, there used to be fights about even him getting police escort. And suddenly we have these police outriders in front of his casket, and he's taking this tour that to me should have been like his inauguration or something when he's going around the stadium. Things that were denied Raila during his lifetime. I was very angry that they totally blacked out his party colors at Nyayo Stadium. I was very angry they didn't even mention his political party. I was angry because we used to drape coffins of people, me and Mzee, in party colors. They didn't allow us to drape his coffin in party colors. They were telling us we were not even going to speak in Bondo. That's why I was dressed the way I was dressed. I didn't know I was going to speak in Bondo. So, when I think about the events surrounding his death and how the things were handled, I couldn't tell you how that decision was.
Sifuna did not shout, he did not dramatize, he simply stated what he saw, or more accurately, what he did not see. Raila's friends were missing. That single line immediately shifted the national conversation because everyone understood what it implied, that some of Raila Odinga's closest political allies were expected to be on that plane and were not. Attention turned instantly to one name.
They could by consent, but they don't seem to care. Now with that, guys, do drop me your comments in the comment section below and I'll do the best to read them and to give.
Alright, so that on the explainer really brought out a lot of stuff surrounding ODM as a party, the current challenge that is in the broad-based government, and the feelings that SIFUNA has towards that broad-based, among other stuff. Away from that, of course, I wanted to cover the challenges that WETANGULA is currently facing, and I'll be addressing that using some details from Plug TV. Let's follow this.
If there is anyone in the Kenya Kwanza government who urgently needs our prayers right now, it isn't the president. It is the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, who appears to be facing the biggest storm in his career.
Kenya.
Since the year began, Wetangula has been practically glued to Western Kenya, like a man convinced that his wife is having an affair with a gate man. If he is not in Bungoma at a burial ceremony, he is in Trans Nzoia for a church service. Blink, and he's already in Kakamega, shaking hands, hugging mourners, and collecting many blessings from village elders.
Wananchi walikuyane Kakamega kwa jumla.
Meanwhile, colleagues like Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi are often spotted alongside President Ruto at major UDA rallies and state functions across the country.
I want to stand here and tell Kenyans and members of UDA that I am a proud member of UDA. Najivunia kuwa mwanachama wa UDA.
Wetangula, on the other hand, has been glued to Western Kenya as if leaving the region, even briefly, might trigger a political cardiac arrest.
Ile kitu tu tumekosa is to put our politics in order. Kuweka siasa yetu pamoja. Kujua ya kwamba in politics we can achieve a lot of things.
So why the constant home ground patrol? The answer is simple. Ford Kenya is on life support. For decades, Wetangula used Ford Kenya as his personal ATM for political negotiations. He would cough and the Mulembe nation would catch a cold.
I want to tell you, Mr. President, it is not enough for you to stand on the platform and cry like a baby about corruption.
Today, even in his own backyard, voters are openly flirting elsewhere. ODM here, UDA there, while Ford Kenya struggles to be heard above the noise.
Kenya.
Even his own brother Timothy Wanyonyi has declared he won't run on Ford Kenya's ticket, citing the party's dwindling clout.
The only chairman here, Ford Kenya.
To add insult to injury, his Secretary General Chris Wamalwa walked out and crossed over to UDA, blaming weak leadership structures.
Na mimi mkisema niingia UDA, I'm going to run for the National Secretary General of UDA. Hiyo kiti iko na Mheshimiwa Omar, ule wa East Africa. Naenda kuonana na yeye mundu kumundu. Mutaniunga mkono. Nikuwe National Secretary General wa UDA. Nipatie jacket nivae.
And to make it worse, doing it loudly with the cameras rolling and Wetangula's name in his mouth.
Yeah! Mnasema kazi ni kazi, si ndio? UDA! UDA!
Mjinga akirevuka, mwerevu wako mashakani. Na watu wa Bungoma, siasa ya Trans Nzoia watu wajie sisi wenyewe. Kama nalisaka abaki Trans Nzoia, abaki Bungoma. Watu wa Hema abaki kule Bungoma. But Wetangula's biggest headache isn't his brother or Chris Wamalwa, but Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, who has openly vowed to dismantle anything Wetangula shaped in Western politics.
Ena Luya ambaye anaweka hope zake kwa Wetangula na kumdavadi hiyo umepiga miss. They are not there.
All right, guys, those are two aspects we've talked about, SIFUNA and the Wetangula aspect. Now let's look at the last aspect of our video before we call it a day. And that is the rift in ODM. Of course, now currently there is a very big rift in ODM with Winnie and the rest of the young people supporting SIFUNA, while the rest stand with those people who feel like they don't have to struggle in any other way. Let me just see. So Ruth Odinga has actually defended SIFUNA among other people, Winnie Odinga and the rest. So there is trouble in the party. Let's look at this.
Wa kike kaunti ya Kisumu, Ruth Odinga amemtetea katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM Edwin Sifuna akisema anapigwa vita.
Kisumu woman representative Ruth Odinga says the government is funding the ODM Linda ground rallies with the aim of controlling the party, which is split over support for President William Ruto's re-election bid. This comes as the ODM party fired back at retired President Uhuru Kenyatta for effecting changes at the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, saying the former president overstepped his mandate in overseeing what the party termed as irregular changes. Manuel To reports.
I can state authoritatively here that the money and the resources you see being spent in those ODM rallies, the so-called underground, those monies are not coming from ODM headquarters.
Where are they coming from?
You will ask them.
It's a statement made by ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna during an exclusive interview with Citizen TV's Explainer show that has stirred controversy far and wide. Kisumu woman representative Ruth Odinga, who took to her social media platforms, coming to the defense of Sifuna, calling out those who have been attacking him as hypocritical cowards. Ruth, sister to the late Raila Odinga, the former ODM party leader, questioned the source of the millions of shillings being funneled into the ODM Linda ground rallies led by the party's pro-broad-based faction. The woman representative raised concerns over the sponsors of these events, which have seen large sums spent on choppers, big tents, and T-shirts and capes. Ruth further claiming the government was in fact bankrolling the rallies in order to control the show and muzzle opposition voices to the two-term chorus. The Kisumu County woman representative concluding by casting doubts on President William Ruto's ability to hold his end of the bargain in the ongoing pre-election pact with ODM, saying he had failed to implement the 10-point agenda he signed with the former Prime Minister, the late Raila Odinga, last year. The statement comes 2 days after Sifuna stated that the party, which is reeling from a 12 billion shilling debt, had not drawn any funds from its accounts since November last year.
The last money we expended as ODM officially was for the celebrations in Mombasa, and it was a fraction of what we saw there.
This comes as the ODM party, through a letter signed by the executive director Odoro Ngwen, dismissed the recent changes to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party effected by Azimio Council Chairman retired President Uhuru Kenyatta as null and void.
All right. So as we come to the end, of course, remember the president called yesterday the opposition as visionless, headless, tribalist, and a divisionist. All right. So here, as we spend our days and we continue watching upon the politicians make a lot of noise, what's your take? Bye-bye for now.